So we knew they dropped the bomb on us.
On May 13, 1985, Philadelphia police bombed 61 homes of black people by ignoring the laws of the government, killing black children and leaving more than 250 people homeless. However, this was just a tiny picture of the incidents when white people slaughtered African Americans like a game with no rules. Sometimes smiling while burning a live African American, or posing for a proud photograph while hanging one on the tree, and even throwing acid in the swimming pool to ensure no black individual can dare to swim in a white man's land. Surprisingly, such haunting truths were hidden from the general public so that white supremacy could be maintained for centuries. Its recent example was witnessed when Florida Governor Ron DeSantis removed the Black Lives Matter topic from 60 schools. But not anymore, because in this video, I will show you some of the evil incidents that white people exercised on African Americans, so that the world would finally know why history matters in our world. After the American Civil War in 1865, black men finally freed themselves from slavery and were given the opportunity to live like every other citizen. In their support, the 18th President of the United States, Ulysses S. Grant, guaranteed black men the right to vote by passing the 15th Amendment of the Constitution. However, Grant failed to realize that even after the Civil War, there were millions of white men who were against this decision. Specifically speaking, it was the Confederate soldiers and members of the Ku Klux Klan, a white supremacist terrorist organization with more than 5 million members, who favored having black men as slaves even after the Civil War. Seeing black people transform from being slaves to standing in equal positions with society, white supremacists consider this as an insult to their reputation. On top of this, during the Louisiana election of 1872, the white community feared an attack from black people after they won the majority by 200 votes. Nonetheless, no one knew how this internal racial conflict would result in one of the worst crimes in history. On April 13, 1873, more than 300 white men armed with rifles brutally attacked black people in Colfax, Louisiana. The massacre was committed in such a way that black survivors were afraid to describe what they saw. Survivors explained how white people burned the bodies of men after shooting them in the back of their heads. In other cases, they slashed the throats of men and beat their heads beyond recognition. As a result, more than 150 black men were murdered. However, after further investigation, it was discovered that the death toll was much higher than these numbers because after the Colfax massacre, around 15 to 20 bodies were recovered from the Red River. And in another location, U.S. Marshals discovered a mass grave of 62 black men. During World War I, the United States Army attracted a lot of industrial workers to defend the country. As a result, there was a shortage of labor in major cities. Fortunately, this crisis created an opportunity for black people to find more jobs. Soon, thousands of African Americans migrated from the southern United States to the north for better jobs and education. Moreover, this sudden migration was also in response to the lynching of African Americans that was widely practiced in the southern states. However, before they could fulfill this mission, there was something waiting for them in the north. You see, by 1917, around 10,000 African Americans migrated to the East St. Louis region, where major industries like Aluminum Ore Company, American Steel Foundry, and Republic Iron and Steel were located. When white workers noticed them settling in this region, this made them insecure about losing their jobs. The situation became more intense when African Americans, in comparison to white workers, were ready to work at lower wages. But what happened next became one of the darkest days in human history. On May 28, 1917, around 3,000 white men marched into downtown East St. Louis, where the majority of the African Americans migrated. At first, black people thought of it as a nonviolent protest against lower wages. But the moment 3,000 white men covered the region, they began attacking black people from every angle. The mob began shooting every African American, including women and children, who were residing in East St. Louis, and even burned the majority of their homes. Despite replacing 6,000 African Americans and destroying property worth more than $9 million, this was their statement when white men hanged several black people. Southern Negroes deserved a genuine lynching. Surprisingly, the police smiled while watching black people's homes get burned. A reporter from St. Louis Post-Dispatch said, "For an hour and a half last evening, I saw the massacre of helpless Negroes in downtown East St. Louis, where black skin was a death warrant. Yet, no organized effort was made to protect the Negroes or disperse the murdering groups." Now, if you think that the genocide against African Americans was over by now, then the next massacre would convince you to forget about this misconception. But before that, make sure to subscribe to our channel so that we keep you updated about history that is intentionally kept hidden from the general public. On May 31, 1921, 4 years after the East St. Louis massacre, a black shoe shiner by the name of Dick Rowland was accused of assaulting a woman in Greenwood, Tulsa. The 17-year-old woman was a Lyft operator who claimed that Rowland had scratched her face and torn her clothes in the elevator. However, after police arrested and charged him for assaulting a woman, a rumor began spreading out that Rowland would be lynched by a group of white men. But this time, the black people had enough of being discriminated at the hands of whites, and soon, around 75 black men arrived at the jail to protect Rowland. Now check this out. The moment the armed African American group reached outside the jail, a group of white men were also present at the same location. Before the situation could become worse, the sheriff immediately directed the African American group to go back home, as he would not let anything happen to Rowland. By believing the sheriff's promise, the black men decided to go back peacefully. But before they could exit this location, an elderly white man intentionally approached one of the armed black men and demanded he hand over his pistol. Keep in mind that at this moment, the sheriff was only watching them from a distance. He did not make any effort to stop the white man from taking the law into his own hands. What happened next was part of a conspiracy to eliminate the black race. When the elderly white man was forcibly taking the black man's gun, a gunshot mistakenly went off. As a result, a massive white mob spread throughout Greenwood District in Tulsa, killing 200 black people and destroying more than 35 square blocks in the neighborhood where one of the wealthiest black communities lived during that time. Astonishingly, it was only after 24 hours that martial law was imposed to end the massacre. However, by that time, around 10,000 black people were left homeless. Around $36 million worth of property was destroyed, and more than 800 people were hospitalized. In addition, this massacre was intentionally removed from local, state, and national histories so that no one would know what happened. The only footage that survived this far was the burning of this church that was captured by Fox News Group. On May 13, 1985, at 5:35 a.m., around 500 police officers arrived at the Cobbs Creek neighborhood in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Their target was a house at 6221 Osage Avenue, which was occupied by members of a black liberation organization called MOVE. The police classified MOVE as a terrorist organization and obtained arrest warrants on the grounds of illegal possession of firearms and making terroristic threats. But if you look closer, the real picture was the opposite of what they had claimed. MOVE was founded by John Africa, with the objective of standing up for the rights of black people against corrupt individuals. In addition, MOVE members also protested against animal cruelty in zoos, the unproductive education system, and illegal police brutality in the country. However, there was one man who was not happy with the rise of MOVE. It was the Philadelphia Police Commissioner, Gregory J. Sambor, who wanted to eradicate MOVE from the roots. In fact, he was the one who obtained such orders against MOVE members. But what happened on the day of arrest was never imagined by anyone. On May 13, 1985, Sambor gave 15 minutes to MOVE members to come out of the house. When members did not respond to the orders, Sambor directed officers to forcefully evict the residents. As a result, a Pennsylvania State Police helicopter dropped 2 1.5-pound bombs at the roof of the house. Now, the bombs were dropped with the objective of creating a hole in the roof so that the police could throw tear gas into the house and forced the occupants to go outside. However, due to the presence of a gasoline-powered generator in the house, a massive fire engulfed the entire neighborhood. The situation became more controversial when the firefighters arriving at the scene were ordered by Sambor to stand back and watch the entire region burn in flames. In consequence, 6 children and 7 adult MOVE members, including John Africa, were killed. Now, it feels unacceptable to notice that despite investigation reports proving how whites intentionally committed genocide against blacks, such violence is witnessed even in the 21st century. In 1996, a federal jury found Philadelphia police responsible for using excessive force against MOVE members and violating their constitutional rights. A few years later, in 2001, the Oklahoma State Legislature found the city responsible for conspiring against black people, which resulted in the Tulsa Race Massacre. Yet, the discrimination is far from over. So, what are your views about evil discrimination against blacks? Tell us in the comments section below. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and press the like button if you like this video. Thank you so much for watching.